You're listening to Pop This, the podcast where two women talk about everything pop culture. Here are your hosts, Lisa Christiansen and Andrea Warner.
I know everyone's a week ahead of us, so what I'm about to say is probably not something you're super excited about anymore, but I went to the mall, and I think a week ahead, it's more of the COVID lockdown rules have been, loosened a bit more. Mm-hmm. But this past weekend, I was able to go into the mall. I love malls, as we know. What did I do? Yeah. So what I did is I went to Uniqlo, of course, because I've missed going to one of my favorite stores. And I was so lucky, and you can't, now, other people don't know, but we can see each other during this recording in our little boxes. I'm about to show you the design on the black sweatshirt I'm wearing. Are you ready for it?
Yes. Oh my God, Flash dance! Yay!
Flash dance!
Yay!
Nice.
That's exciting.
Don't you have to rip off the sleeves and
I should probably
rip the neck?
And just cut out the neck a bit too.
It's a bit much. But anyway.
Make it a one-shoulder sexy top.
I did that. But the fun thing is Uniqlo has a Women in Movies t-shirt series. So, Of course, I bought the Flash Dance, but I just thought I would read to you what it says here on the little card that you get.
Oh my God, that's so
shirt.
Cute. Okay, yes, please.
Yeah, okay. So, it's first of all, it says Women in Movies. The collection features 3 movies which have leading female characters who are strong-willed and overcome difficulties to pursue what they believe in.
I'm so excited they came up with 3.
Yeah, strangely, one of the other movies was The Devil Wears Prada. I don't know if I've ever thought of it quite like that, but...
Wait, are they just picking movies from our back catalog?
Right?
Are all 3 movies we've done?
I wish I could remember the third. I could look it up. I can't recall because I was so excited to find the Flashdance. But
yeah, fair enough. Okay, go ahead.
Anyway, Flashdance. Alex Owens, a fiercely determined 18-year-old with one all-consuming dream to study at the Pittsburgh Conservatory of Dance. Working during the day as a welder and at night as an exotic dancer, Alex bravely pursues her dream, undertaking an unforgettable journey that reveals the power of her convictions and teaches her the meaning of love. I don't remember that part. Did I?
I don't think she learned the meaning of love necessarily. No.
No,
that's really secondary to the story, isn't it?
I was a bit surprised by that little ending there.
Is Alex 18?
That's what I thought too. Is she only 18? Because then it's extra creepy with Boss Man there.
It's extra creepy with him. He is like such a, you know how like you can like, I don't know if you guys feel this way too, but sometimes you look at a man and you're like, that's a grown man. And then you look at like someone who might be the same age as you and is your husband. And you're like, but you're like just a normal man. You're not like a grown man. I have those feelings a lot.
It's true. And also I want to point out that if you're 18 and you've had an all-consuming dream, what are we looking at? The last 4 years then? Because I mean, how long can you have? I dreamed
of being a writer from the ages of 11 to 18. It was pretty all-consuming.
But okay, wait. What was her dream? Her dream was to be like a good dancer or to go to Juilliard? Like what was...
Pittsburgh Conservatory of Dance.
Yeah, the dream was dance.
Yeah.
She was just a welder to make the money.
And how do you like... these are conversations we should have had. Maybe we did when we did Flashdance.
We did so long ago.
In our dance series, yeah. But how do you like decide, okay, I really want to be a professional dancer, so I've got to have to pay the bills. So exotic dancing and welding.
Yeah.
I get the exotic dancing.
I think we did discuss that. I don't know. That's the question I have about being 18 because...
How long does it take to become a welder? You got to
you have to get your ticket, right?
Right?
So,
and you got to all that stuff, right?
Probably
an apprenticeship.
A couple of years, right?
Yeah, and I don't think you necessarily like have to be 18 when you enter the Pittsburgh Academy of Dance or whatever it is. Like, I have a lot of questions about that.
I do. I never really thought she was 18. But anyway, all I want to do is say I'm super excited to have my Flashdance sweatshirt, and I'm wearing it a lot. And
I have so many questions about why Alex Owens had to hold down 2 jobs. Like
Because
that
the
was
exotic dancing should have paid a lot of bills.
well, especially because that dancing was beautiful, elaborate, choreographed stage routines that we know kind of belonged on like a sort of an off-Broadway setup. Like it was I mean, like that water sequence alone was
I think the issue we had
phenomenal.
with Flashdance, if I recall, is it's definitely 3 movies in one by all different people. Like it's not whoever came up with the idea is not the same person that's decided. Like when they said exotic dancer, I'm sure when they saw the final thing, they were like, "Huh, that's not really what I was thinking, but that looks nice."
Well, you definitely know that like that horned up dude who directed it,
Adrian Lin.
yeah, and like his male gaze stuff and like his water naked lady fetishisms were just like really cranked right up. And I mean,
One more question. When did we also start like really coveting, I'm sure we had this discussion, the warehouse for a home?
I coveted it always, and it probably is Flashdance related.
Yeah.
Have either of you ever lived in a loft?
I have lived in a loft, and it was maybe one of the like most exciting 2 years of my life.
I've stayed in extended stays in lofts, and I don't know if I think they're. We had this conversation with Ghost.
Oh yeah.
With the loft.
But the beautiful thing about lofts is that you can mash up any decor. Like you can put anything in a loft and it looks fine. Any kind of furniture, any size. Like you can.
It's gonna look cool.
Yeah, it's gonna look cool.
Yeah, unless you have like terrible taste and you're just like, I'm gonna put up this Budweiser neon sign and a stoplight. Like other than that, you're good to go.
Even that might.
That's still yeah. You might be able to pull that off.
Yeah.
That's how
you've got lots of parties coming over and everyone's going to be all, whoa, I like what you've done here. And it's like, I've done nothing. There's a light.
My friend Anna, she used to live in Vancouver. She doesn't anymore. But she was friends with some guys from some really popular 90s Vancouver bands. And they had received some of that big 90s like music label money and were living in one-hit wonder lofts in Gastown, and that's what they used to talk about that all the time, is going to party in their friends one-hit wonder Gastown loft. And sure, I love it.
It's enough to make me feel like I'm in a movie. So next time I'm at a loft, I'm wearing my Flashdance sweatshirt.
You absolutely should. Good.
That's great. And I just want to announce.
And no pants, right? No pants?
No
leg
pants.
warmers?
Either way.
Well, I mean, it's COVID times. No, I don't know. Who knows what I'm wearing? You don't even know if I've got pants on right now.
I don't. In all honesty, I have no idea.
I mean, I had a very bad moment last night. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna come out and tell everyone right now what happened. I was laying in my bed. And I thought, finally, these yoga pants are off. I'm just like, and I thought, oh my God, you've turned yoga pants into some kind of workwear. And there's nothing left more to take off. I don't have any more unless I feel my skin. Like there's nothing.
I know. There's like only soft pants now. I don't like wearing hard pants anymore.
No. So I went from hard pants to yoga pants. And when I took the yoga pants off, I went, oh, like I shed something, like my work day. And I thought, I don't know where more to go. Soft pants. What are you talking about? Like fleece? Like fuller fleece pants now?
Yeah, any kind of material that's soft versus like denim.
So the restrictiveness of, because the yoga pants are very tight. So maybe am I not as sad as I think I am, or am I pretty sad still?
No, because I've been wearing joggers. Okay. Which is like
joggers.
Yeah. It's kind of like an in-between a yoga pant and a full-on jogging pant.
I'm not going to stand up and prove this, but I literally have been wearing pajama pants all day. And I wore them out of my house to take my grandma for car service in the White Spot parking lot.
I've experienced moments where I have forgotten to do any sort of aestheticness, and I've gone out. You know, just like,
yep.
I forgot, don't care. Nope. I've lost my will to think about what anyone's thinking of me because it doesn't matter anymore.
It sure doesn't. one of the things I am going to do is slightly segue us into the actual recording of the episode, because the beautiful costumes in this movie. I know this movie is not about the costumes, but it is so, like, the costumes are so beautiful in this movie. The movie itself is so beautiful, and I can't wait to talk about it more with you guys.
Yes.
I'm very, very excited. I'm Andrea Warner.
I'm Lisa Christiansen.
I'm Andrea Jen.
And you're listening to Pop This.
The lockdown or pandemic days.
Not really. You just went to the mall.
I did. Okay. Things are relaxing. So what do we call it? We're still at home, though. We're still
at home. Pop
by
this
choice.
At home. Yeah.
At home by choice.
Well,
yeah, we don't know if we're leaving yet.
Never. I'm never leaving.
I mean, I went to the mall, but I came home like scurrying very fast.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm really excited about this episode. We are talking about Daughters of the Dust, which I had never seen before. And honestly, shame on me. What an amazing film.
Yeah, agreed. I think I feel like I saw it, but I had not remembered it very well. And I was glad to see it again.
AG, had you seen it before?
No, I'd never seen it. But I first heard of it when when people were talking about Beyonce's Lemonade.
Yes.
And she talked about how it was an inspiration, and she used a lot of the looks from Lemonade. She was inspired by this movie.
And she actually revived the film again, right? For because it's like
it got a re-release.
1991.
Yeah, it got a re-release in 2016, and I was just really excited to read a lot of interviews that were different between 1991 and 2016, and what that 25-year span both meant and, of course, didn't mean culturally. And anyway, so if you haven't seen Daughters of the Dust, we highly recommend it. You can watch it for free on Criterion right now. It's also, I think, through the Canopy, it's available. That's like a library. If you have a library membership, you can log in and watch films that way. But let's just quickly give a bit of background.
Well, let's just quickly say, though, that that's part of a larger effort by Cineplex and Criterion to put out a lot of, as they're saying, movies about Black lives. So it's worth checking all, I think there's almost like a dozen or 20 films between Cineplex and Criterion.
And then there are like so many other options as well, like that Canopy and like a few other things. And there's a bunch of stuff on Prime and Netflix as well, but we're starting here with Daughters of the Dust, and we will continue to sort of just enjoy and absorb some of those films and do them here on the podcast. So just a bit of background. Daughters of the Dust is a 1991 independent film written, directed, and produced by Julie Dash. And not only is it Julie Dash's first feature film, but it's the first feature film directed by an African-American woman that's distributed theatrically in the United States. It was set in 1902. It tells the story of 3 generations of Gullah, also known as Geechee, women in the Peasant family on Saint Helena Island as they prepare to migrate to the north of the mainland. Does one of you want to give the synopsis? Synopsis.
I'll give the synopsis. It's a story of it's a story of the Great Migration of African Americans, survivors of slavery, and the descendants of former slaves to the north. It's made in a way that both embraces the historical idea and atomizes it in the sharp specificity of personal experience. The splendid complexity of Daughters of the Dust is developed from a simple situation. As 2 urbanized women from the Peasant family return to the island as a sort of delegation to organize the migration, it's uncertain whether all the members of the family will go. Some are considering staying behind on the island, and the decision that each must make is the core of the drama, and that's from Richard Brody from The New Yorker.
I would say, too, for someone who's planning to watch this, to me, it wasn't about the narrative of the movie. To me, it was a piece of art. Like, we're looking at this beautiful cinematography, and we're looking at scenes from this family's life, from the Gullah culture, and sort of absorbing the language of these people, and it's more like, to me, it was more like sketches of things than trying to follow a narrative film.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, I think that there were moments, honestly, that at first I really wasn't getting, and that I knew that I would end up having to sort of read about the film to just make sure that I had understood what the allusions were, and sort of just aspects of certain things that are left unsaid, because so much is left unsaid in this movie. It's visually so stunning, and I think it is like an incredible story itself, but it's not laying things out in a clear a clear narrative that goes from start to finish. Like, there's time movement, and there's sort of narration that happens.
There's two narrators.
Like, there's complexity happening on so many levels. And I think it's very enthralling.
It is. And now I'm going to disagree with both of you. I think if anyone is going to watch it, read up on it, because I do think then you enjoy the visuals more when you're not puzzled over what is happening in the story. And I also think, for me, it really helped me to appreciate the story more, understanding the tension between the past, the present, and the future. That this was a tension that was going through the story, because I felt like it was so important for me to understand what was at stake. That as much as there was all of this beauty, there was so much struggle against that beauty. There were women that were fighting against being happy and, enjoying the surroundings. And I wanted to understand what for them was at stake and why they weren't as enthralled by this beautiful island as I was. So I felt I enjoyed it more when I finally just decided, I'm going to pause this. I'm going to go and I'm going to read the synopsis, and I'm going to really get a sense of this island. I'm going to get a sense of who the people are that came there. And then I felt I enjoyed the movie more.
Yeah, I went in a little bit not knowing what was going on. And I think that, like, that's a super good and valid way to go into it, is like having done a bit of like pre-reading and pre-research. I remember a lot of stuff from, because I watched Lemonade. I remember a lot of stuff around Daughters of the Dust when that happened, and I remember reading about it, but I didn't see the movie, and so I had some idea, but I didn't have like I didn't have a lot of context for the film other than what was happening and unfolding in the movie in front of me. And so, like, I think, like, whatever way you decide to do it, like, it's but like,
yeah,
I mean, it's beautiful no matter what. But like, I think, like, now that I have seen it and read it, I do want to go back and watch it again. You know?
That's what I was gonna say.
Yes,
it's a movie that you can just watch over and over and glean something new from it every time.
Yeah.
Agreed. Sorry, go on.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, and I think part of the reason, obviously, why Beyonce is so struck by it, because it is a really feminist film. This is a film about women. This is, I mean, I don't want to say men are superfluous, but they kind of are in this story. They're important, but they're almost, I mean, this movie really, except for the historical parts that go off, it's really one day. This is a movie about one day, one meal almost, really.
Yeah.
And the men aren't even participating in this. They are on another, like, having their own kind of experience. So this film really struck me as to how powerful a story this is about Black women.
Yeah, one of the things that I did, like, Andrea, Jan, you laid out a really beautiful outline for us with lots of great reference points, and then I did a little bit more reading as well. And the initial New York Times review from 1991, I just want to quote like a tiny bit. It talks about, Ms. Dash, who emerges as a strikingly original filmmaker, and then for all its harsh allusions to slavery and hardship, the film is an extended, wildly lyrical meditation on the power of African cultural iconography and the spiritual resilience of the generations of women who have been its custodians. And I just thought that was like pretty beautiful phrasing, because that is absolutely what Julie Dash sort of communicates there is just like that lineage, the power, the prices that women have paid on many levels over and over and over again to also then continue the lifeblood, just generation to generation to generation. And I particularly was struck, I was trying to find, like a lot of other films have quote sections on the IMDb's, because there were some standout lines by a variety of the female characters in this movie. And almost none of the quote sites feature any of those lines. They have a couple of quotes from Nana, but that's it. And so this is a movie that has like sort of, its historical significance and cultural significance and filmmaking significance is noted by a variety of people, but it still goes underrepresented in our pop culture with like the absence of being able to sort of find the quotes from the film without us having to go through it and like make them ourselves. But now I think that would be a really cool project for future me, maybe.
Future you. But yeah, we are a week behind, so or ahead, or
so whatever. Maybe by next week.
By the time you're watching this, Andrea will be a
page.
scholar of the dialogue of this film. I think that what really captured me about this. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just gonna make a point about like we haven't really sort of talked about the language of the movie, which is like I was reading. I think I saw this on Atlas Obscura, but it's like a combination of a lot of different languages, like African languages and English Creole and
you put that quote in,
exactly. And so just in case like people who are listening don't have a clear picture of the language that we're talking about in this movie, it might not be the most easily quotable because it is very specific to this region.
That's
language.
A good point.
That's a totally fair point. I think I was the quotable lines are the ones that I would be able to articulate in English. Like I think that
you're not going to learn. You're not going to learn Gullah.
The only thing I mean I would love to, but I'm not great at language. But yeah, like totally fair point. Totally fair point.
Elisa, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was going to say one of the really striking things about this film is it made me think of those songs that you're listening to that have a beautiful melody, and then you listen to the lyrics and it's devastating. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what this movie, it does something to you. It pacifies you with the slowness of it, the beautifulness of it, the heat of it. And then women are dropping these unbelievably sad moments of their lives in this beautiful surrounding. And it really is an experience of trying to navigate that in your head, I found. And I really applaud it for that. I really enjoyed that. Enjoyed is I don't know. I just, that feeling of so many emotions going on at the same time, I have to say is a real strength of this movie.
Yeah, and I think the complexity of Black women's lives in so many different ways, like I think it addresses that really, really well. And it's not, the sort of the friction that can happen in family members, and particularly family members of sort of like differing structures, and people who have gone off and people who have returned and people who have married into families. Like, I mean, there is so much that is just, and also the joy between so many women in the film. I just think it does something really special that I don't see enough in a lot of the other films that we talk about, which is really giving enough space to how complicated women are, and obviously in this case specifically Black women,
and especially when you're dealing with so many cultural impressions since coming to United States, the different religions, the things you brought with you, the things you were confronted with, the new things that are coming your way, because this is a movie about the story is a struggle about, should we stay here or do we leave and go to where the new world is? And so there are so many struggles with so many different pressures, I would say. I mean, we're seeing Christian prayers, we're seeing Muslim prayers, we're seeing culture from other places all brought into one place, and seeing all these people have to try and decide who they are and what they want to become.
And like, I think the trauma, obviously, like, of slavery, of colonial violence, of so many different, so many different African cultures and so many different African languages and traditions. Like, there's so much happening in this one sort of film that is sort of fighting against legacies of that colonial violence, that sort of like ownership brutality, the white supremacy, obviously the incredible violence of white supremacy, and how this one very special place still has so many African traditions and cultural practices alive and vibrant. Like
it still exists today.
Yeah. Like I one of the things that you put in your outline, AG, is that like where Carvel Wallace is talking about it for The Guardian, you
should read that quote.
Yeah. Viewed through the lens of 2017, one is struck by how it so magically balances obsolescence with Afrofuturism. This time in which we are living feels dire to many. For African Americans, present circumstances have led to a rise in utopian thinking, a collective search for a place in which we will not be murdered, hounded, over-policed, and constantly re-traumatized with the legacy of slavery, lynchings, and virulent white supremacy. After all these many years, we are still, in effect, searching for a place to be free. Predictably, we seek this place in the past as well as the future, for what they both have in common is that they are away from here. The reason Afrofuturism looks so very much like the Afro-past depicted in Lemonade and its progenitor, Daughters of the Dust, is because both the past and the future involve the spirit beyond the material world. And I mean, Carvel Wallace obviously is like a freaking genius, and this essay is so beautiful, and go read it immediately. But like,
I'll link to it in the show notes.
Yeah, that's like such a beautiful encapsulation of sort of one of the takeaways both of Daughters of the Dust and of Lemonade, and that really sits. I don't know. It doesn't burden anything, but it sits there. It's present, and it's that contradiction of past and Afrofuturism that I think is that Carvel just nails so beautifully.
I thought a lot about when I watched Black Panther the first time and the whole idea about Wakanda in the movie, and how that wasn't anything for me. And when I watched it, and I watched this sense of this is some utopia that we've created, as you said that word utopia, and how it so galvanized Black people seeing that movie, and having that idea of a place where all those things, like, we don't have to worry about all of that, and we can be ourselves and live in this world.
And anti-Black racism isn't a thing.
Yes, yeah, like, it's not. We're just, and it had that, and then the same way they in the movie anyway. And I don't know, I've never read the comics, but the same way with Wakanda in the movie settings is they borrowed from so many traditions to create that space. And that's something that I was thinking about here, was how many different cultures have fed into. I mean, and obviously there's some not great stuff that is also fed in there, but it's interesting seeing that combination of so many ideas to create this space where the other stuff doesn't exist.
Yeah, and I think AG, like the part you included about the Atlas Obscura portion, like, do you want to read that? Because I think that gives a lot of context for what Lisa's talking about.
Sure, just let me...
No pressure.
Linguistic anthropologists have posited that Gullah is a mutation of Angola, while Geechee may refer to the Kissi people of Sierra Leone and Liberia, which provides some clues as to the exact origins of the Gullah. The Gullah people also have their own language, an English Creole with many words and phrases adopted from a number of West African languages such as Yoruba, Wolof, and Fon. 16th and 17th century slaves made up an extremely diverse mix of ethnicities and cultures, and the development of a Creole language was essential for communication. Thus, many believe that the Gullah language is the most accurate reflection of original slave vernacular that can still be found today.
And I think one of my other recent discussions on this came from watching W. Kamau Bell's The United Shades of America on CNN, where he visited and found that there are people wanting to keep the language going. There are people that want to, keep the people there in that space. And I just thought, what an interesting contrast of watching those videos again, because I think I saw it a couple of years ago, and then watching the movie where there were so many people like, I've got to get away from here. I've got to leave. And now, because you don't know what's going to be there. And also the sense of migration in 1902 is that when you left a place, you never came back. And that was the last word of the film, right? Was that we didn't know if we'd ever see those people again. And now we know with migration, and you can come back all the time. I mean, that's something you can do.
I guess so. But it's interesting because like my parents were both born in Africa. And once they left, they never wanted to go back. Like my dad he grew up during apartheid, and like my grandma, she was like a single mother, and they had left China when she was a young woman, and she had 4 kids, and her husband died unexpectedly on a trip back to China. And so she was kind of stranded in this country where she didn't speak the language, and raised 4 children and saved enough money to send one of them to med school. And that, one son was going to move somewhere else and get established and then help the whole family move. And he came to Canada, and that was my dad. But since then, like my sister has been back. I haven't. But my parents have like 0 interest in going back to Africa, even though they grew up there until they were, late teens kind of situation.
Wow, where in Africa?
My dad was born and raised in Cape Town, and my mom was born in Cape Town as well, but she grew up in Tanzania. And then they moved to England, and then, my mom moved to her family moved to England, and then they moved to Canada. But then my dad moved from South Africa to Vancouver directly.
And they have no interest in going back. That's really interesting. Yeah.
They just, no. Every time I've brought it up, they're just like, no, we're not going back.
Well,
wow.
Julie Dash did this interview on NPR in 2016 that, like, it's not, like, directly speaking, obviously, to your parents' experience, but talking about sort of that decision about leaving and not coming back, or who knows what's going to happen at the time. And she said the time was important, the time period, because it was set in 1902, and that was the Industrial Revolution. It was also very important because it's taking a look at the adult-born free African-American person, the first generation of freeborns making decisions about their future. That was so very different from what we'd ever seen before on television or in feature films. And so I was passionate about showing and about redefining, if you will, how African-American women are seen in historical drama. And I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah,
it's a very short interview. It's on NPR. It's from 2016. It's a very short interview, but it's really interesting to hear her talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, and I think what's so wonderful and hard about the film is that there are places where, obviously, I'm a woman, I've had children, I've lived, so there are places I can relate to experiences and feelings, and then there are places I can't at all, and I'm absorbing so much pain and trauma and sadness, and it is a unique film that way as a white person watching that.
Yeah, and I think like it does this kind of amazing thing where it's literally never centering whiteness. White people are not part of the experience. It's always it's a film about Black people, by Black people, for Black people. And I think that I'm just so grateful for having the sort of these I don't know, just be able to watch it. Just to be able to watch it and just be able to sort of witness it. And like, that sounds cheesy and stupid, but I feel it.
No, but that's what it is. No, but I do think that's important, what you just said. It's not, that idea that it doesn't have to, no one sat down and went, well, what will a white audience, will they be able to figure this out?
Well, exactly.
Like,
it's the perspective that is a completely different thing for us, right? It's not, explaining Black history to white people kind of perspective. It's slavery told from the point of view of slaves or former slaves.
Yeah, which we need to spend more time with. And also, but also I think her sense of that this is a beautiful place, that and how, what is it like to live with all of that trauma, but just be surrounded by so much beauty and people you love and care about, and the conflicting amount of feelings you have about the past and the future. I think that's what I really mostly took away from that story, is that it is, recognizing who you are, where you came from, but also does that inform where you go next? Or can you say, that's not, I can move on?
Yeah. I've been to that part of the world a few years ago. We took a road trip through South Carolina and Georgia, and it is incredibly beautiful. Like, it's everything you imagine it to be, but there's all of these remnants of slavery left behind. And it's so sort of surreal to be walking through Charleston and, seeing a building that used to be like where they traded slaves, and, it's got a plaque on it, but it's more or less the exact same building just standing. Because, they've preserved it for history and turned it into some kind of thing people can learn from. But at the same time, it's stunning to just think about that when you walk by all these things and think about the history of the city. And, also at the same time, like, you can see examples of them trying to educate people about the history. But then when we were in Georgia, in some of the tourist places, there were still like souvenir dolls of like dolls in blackface, basically, as souvenirs, just like in a tourist store. And like it was nothing.
Well, and that's like, like, I've seen it so often, like, we've heard about it, like, the plantations as wedding venues, like so many sites of infinite trauma and violence on Black people that are now treated as just like cool places for mostly white people to get married and other such frivolous activities.
On that, though, I think it was like a year or two ago that the site Pinterest will not accept any wedding photos from a plantation,
which is good. I'm glad about that. So
if you're doing that, 100% that you should not be. That is,
just the idea though that like that was a thing until a couple years. Yeah,
like when we were down there, there was some plantations that were open to tourists in order to educate them about the history of slavery in that state. There are other places that are purely like, come and see our beautiful plantation and, take your Instagram shots and, like it's the place to host your wedding or party. And so, it's a real mix of stuff down there.
Yeah.
Okay. I would like to address this particular issue. Which is that in 1991, Dances with Wolves won Best Oscar.
I know. It's... Whew. This was not even nominated, right? Like, this was not...
Oh, hell no.
Yeah, it was... that's horrifying. Like,
wasn't even not nominated, but Julie Dash has never to this day made another feature film.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about Dances with Wolves for a long time, and now thank you for that. So,
well, Ghost was nominated as well.
Well, we're all on side with Ghost. So
we wanted it to be a triumphant year of Ghost and Daughters of the Dust. That's what we were looking for.
But I mean, Julie Dash, like she has worked in TV, and
Yeah.
like she's done the Rosa Parks story with Angela Bassett, and she's done some stuff for the Oprah Winfrey Network, but she's never made another narrative feature. In the 2019 Sundance Film Festival, it was announced that Dash's next project will be a biopic of civil rights icon Angela Davis to be produced by Lionsgate. So that's
I'm very excited about that. I mean,
Yeah.
Angela Davis, what a freaking icon. We were all at
Yes, we
her
were.
talk when she came, courtesy of Battered Women Support Services. She was doing a fundraising speech for them, I think in 2018, maybe 2018 or 2017. I'm not sure, but what a great evening. And I love the idea of Julie Dash being the one to sort of bring Angela Davis's story to the big screen.
Yeah, but it just makes you so mad about, the gatekeepers of Hollywood and who they allow to make movies. Because we see this completely original work with this person who's creating her own vision and is completely out of the box. And you would think that like people would be stumbling over each other to, give her funding to like enact her vision in a greater scale, because it's amazing and so artistic and so original. But it didn't happen.
It didn't happen at all. And I just like, even the fact that like her film was pretty universally praised.
It won a
Like,
Sundance Award.
It won a Sundance Award. Like, I mean, she made this movie. Imagine this being your first film and never getting. Yeah, no, it's absolutely.
It's the same thing that we were talking about when I wasn't on the episode, but you talked about real women have curves, and
yes,
Josefina Lopez never made another feature after that either.
Yeah. No, the white supremacy.
If we start digging into that, there's going to be a lot. There will be far too many.
Well, I mean, and this is the time to dig into it, right? Like, I mean, obviously, like the white supremacy in Hollywood is like super real, and people haven't wanted to talk about it for a really long time. Like, they want to have conversations about like, oh, it's the patriarchy, which yeah, sure it is, but like white supremacy sort of is also part of that sort of colonial system that's in Hollywood. Like, it does horrifying things to keep people of color out of Hollywood. Like, it gives so many free passes. I mean, you've got a dude like Mel Gibson who's got like a zillion free passes to be
that's the whole
like
issue,
anti-Semitic jerk. Like, my God.
With Dances with Wolves, there was this tradition of that whatever actor was a first-time director, they would always get an Oscar. And so that is, as you mentioned, Mel Gibson with Braveheart. Oh, here you go, bud. Thanks for doing that. Robert Redford, here you go. Take one. Here's Kevin Costner. I mean, it is that club. And over the years, we've watched that people try to break down that club. And I don't know. Okay, we're a week behind everyone. I don't know if that worked out. Just want to say that.
Yeah,
now.
It's a pretty predominant club, like a club that is predominantly populated with white men. And
at the top of all of the arts, whatever you want to consume. We're learning about that in the food industry and on TV food. I mean, it's not anything that you are probably consuming in the arts right now probably is not great right now.
But that's why, like it's a stereotypical thing that immigrants want their children to become lawyers and doctors. And it's precisely because of that. Because like when you become a professional and you're your own boss, like you don't have to rely on gatekeepers to succeed.
Yeah.
Oh, I never thought of that. Yeah,
that's why parents, like immigrants, want their children to go into professions like that, so they don't have to rely on people letting them be successful or not. They're in charge of their own destiny.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
That does make a lot of sense. It does, because it is heartbreaking to watch and to go through the years of how many such talented people that we have not got to see again. For these various, we don't swear on this podcast, but add your biggest swear word, like a string of them right now, to these people.
And I do think like I think it's been really hard for, I mean, historically, it's been hard for white people to sort of cede space to talking about how they have benefited from white privilege and white supremacy. And like, it is uncomfortable for white people to think that they have not gotten where they are because of a meritocracy where they've just worked really hard and that's been like the sole defining factor in their success. But this is something that I think we have to talk about, like, as much as we talk about sort of as much as we talk about the patriarchy, like it just, they go hand in hand, and
Yes.
we can't separate those two things, you know? And like, I think a lot about, I mean, Julie Dash should 100% have as she should have more films than Mel Gibson. I'm just gonna, and Kevin Costner, frankly. No offense to Kevin Costner, but like, I mean, Dances
Really
with
love
Wolves.
Bull Durham. I'm just kidding. I did
Dances with
actually.
Wolves,
Sorry.
not the most culturally sensitive film, fairly like culturally appropriative as well. I mean, it's not quite Pierce Brosnan playing, oh my god, the character he played when he
Pierce Brosnan?
he played a Native American at one
Did
point.
he?
Oh, he sure did.
I did not know that.
But it's, you know, I mean, again, we're not listing layers of atrocity.
But I also, oh, sorry, continue.
No, it's fine. You know what? I could just rant about this for a long time, and I'm so sorry. You, Floor.
Oh, no, I was just going to add that it's not even just North America. It's all over the world, because I was telling you guys, I was talking about how a few weeks ago I tuned into the Another Gaze feminist film journal in the UK. They had this tribute to Sarah Muldaur, who is a Black French film director who unfortunately passed away from complications of coronavirus.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
But how, like, she was the first woman to direct a film in sub-Saharan Africa, and her work was like subsequently used by all these filmmakers in France, like in Sans Soleil. Chris Marker used some of her images, and you know, he's like this, you know, cult director that everybody loves and super famous and a legend and everything, and nobody ever talks about her. And some of the film scholars on the discussion were talking about how it's not just, you know, ignoring her film. It's not just, you know, ignoring her work and not giving her funding, but it was like not asking her to be on juries and not nominating her work for prizes and not inviting her to give talks everywhere. Like, she was completely shut out of the Film Academy, and thus, you know, completely forgotten about. And, you know, that, I think that's, you know, like what sort of happened to Julie Dash a bit. Because if you look at her work, the people giving her work were like Oprah Winfrey. It was like, you know, Black people and Black organizations giving her work, and nobody else.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, honestly, like, I know that like some people aren't the biggest Beyonce fans, but like, I do think that Beyonce's sort of like referencing of her in Lemonade is such a significant contribution to reinserting and like finally giving Julie Dash the sort of like broader acclaim that she deserves. Like, I rewatched Lemonade before we recorded, just so that I could be sort of like fresh on Lemonade. And I was reminded again of the like Lemonade syllabus. Like, please everyone go check that out. That the Lemonade syllabus, I just want to like bring it up quickly for a second. It's put together by Candice Marie Benbow, Candice Marie Benbow. And it's a collection of works celebrating Black womanhood. And it's like over 200 reference points. And you can just download it. There's a PDF. It's beautifully put together. And a bunch of different work that influenced Lemonade and our cultural touchstones in Lemonade that Beyonce and her creative team referenced. Obviously, including Daughters of the Dust. And it's wild. It's wonderful.
Yeah, and Solange used Arthur Jaffa, who was the cinematographer for Daughters of the Dust, for her Cranes in the Sky videos. And yeah. So both of them brought back the movie.
Bless both the Knowles sisters.
who you know, luckily do this work. Obviously, it's not as hard as for some reason it is for white people to do work. But I hope that everyone watches this movie and I hope that there are some people that are rewatching the movie with a whole different perspective as well, about the story and what it's what it's saying, and also just, it's so beautiful. It really is just so
It
beautiful.
is so beautiful. It is so beautiful. All the natural light and just the ways that the cameras sort of like rest on people's faces and like like the ways that people are embodied by the camera. It really is beautiful.
And just, I think that for a lot of people, seeing so many Black people is different. You know, it really is. The different kind of ideas on what that means and who these people are. And I think that I just can only imagine for just a lot of white people, everything is just very upsetting. I'm just, given the number of things I've seen on Twitter, and I feel like this is I just want to acknowledge that I think this is a really awful time, but also a time of some goodness can come out of it. I hope.
Yeah, I think Angela Davis has like some really good. She has a really good video that she posted about how this is such a time of reckoning for America, obviously, but how there is so much pain in the Black community, and there's so much pain done to the Black community, but that she feels a lot. I'm paraphrasing. I'm not quoting, but that she feels hope. That there's a broader understanding right now of like white and non-Black people's roles in what sort of, you know, just dismantling white supremacy looks like.
Yeah. And, you know, Criterion and Cineplex knew that they had to help lazy white people with we'll just make it free for you. Like somehow paying for something made it really arduous. But anyway, here's where we are. You should feel bad that the companies thought they had to make it free for you, because that's what they thought would get you to see movies. So once you're finished,
we did do it once it was free. So let's acknowledge our
Well, we did it. Yeah, but I mean, we did it because that was something they had to announce.
No, I know. I'm just gonna put it out there that we're not entirely non-complicit.
Yeah, we're not. I wasn't sorry. I didn't mean to suggest perfection or something, but I think at a certain point you just have to go, why haven't I seen these films?
100%. I am asking myself that all the time. All the time. Yeah. It seems redundant to finish an episode like this where we ask, does it pop? But this is our show, and here we go.
Oh, it pops.
I think it pops, yeah.
Stunningly so.
Yeah. Stunningly if you haven't seen it, you're in for quite a treat, and you'll be dazzled, you'll learn, you'll cry. It's going to be all of the feelings outside that.
And I feel like you're gonna watch it a few times, if not more, because it's like a piece of art. You see different things in it every time.
Absolutely,
yeah, I agree with that.
Absolutely. We also love to leave our episodes on things that we recommend. So, Lisa, do you want to go first?
Well, I'll be super dull and just say, at this time, I'm still very happy that the new season of Queer Eye is out. I've been enjoying. I always like a makeover, and especially during these times where I have there's a sort of hopelessness to a lot of things, to see some hope. And I think the show has refined itself over the time, which is not so much fixing people as helping them become who they already are. And I think that's what I really took from this season in particular, that this wasn't about, you're a nightmare, you're a wreck, we'll help you. It was like, okay, here's what you want. How can we help you get there? And I have really enjoyed that so much about this season. And
what is this season? Is it like the 5th season, or?
I think it is 5th season.
Okay, cool.
They're in Philadelphia.
Okay. Thank you. AG, how about you?
So I don't know if I've mentioned this, but I'm on the board of the Doxa Documentary Film Festival. which is the largest documentary film festival in Western Canada. And
humble brag. I'm totally kidding.
well, I mean, just wanted to disclose that before I plug this. But the spring dates that we usually have for the festival had to be canceled because of the pandemic, and we pivoted online, and now the festival is going to start on June 18th. And there is a amazing selection of films online you'll be able to see. There's a masterclass by Iris Ng, a cinematographer who did either of you ever see The Stories We Tell by Sarah Polley?
Yes.
We should do that movie.
Sorry. Yeah.
But she's a cinematographer on that. Great movie, and Toxic Beauty and Shirkers and Migrant Dreams, and she's just this
Migrant Dreams is amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So she's giving a masterclass on the 21st, which is you'll be able to log online and hear her give a presentation and ask her questions and stuff. And the opening night is going to be a couple days after technically you can start watching films. It's going to be on the 20th.
What are you wearing for that, the opening night? Your joggers or your joggers?
Question. No, I'm dressing up. But yeah, I mean, it's been a hard year for the team at Doxa, just having to make all these last minute adjustments and trying to present a festival. And so it would be great if, people checked it out, because a lot of hard work has gone into it.
That sounds awesome. Thank you. I am going to recommend an album that came out in March during pandemic times. It's by Witch Prophet, an artist out of Toronto. It's called DNA Activation. And I'm gonna just read the description, because I think it does so much more service, because it was, I believe, written by Witch Prophet herself. Is an ethnio jazz R&B hip hop fusion with songs sung in English, Amharic, and Tingarinya. A collection of sounds co-produced by Sun and Witch Prophet, named after Witch Prophet's family members, and inspired by biblical stories, myths, and her Ethiopian Eritrean roots. It's such a good record. It's amazing. I love it so much. I was very lucky to interview Witch Prophet earlier in the year. Oh, no, wait. It was probably last year. Maybe it was earlier in the year. Time has no meaning to me anymore. I'm so sorry. But just about queering the Canadian music industry, and just what an incredible album. I really highly recommend it and encourage everyone to check it out, because it's really unlike anything a lot of people have ever heard before. I think at least it was unlike anything really that I had ever heard before. And it is both an album that you can sort of really sit with and get heavy with, and an album that you can just retreat into and really lose yourself. So, and it's kind of funky and cool and thoughtful and meaningful. Anyway.
Wow. Exciting
times, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening. We love doing this. We love having you come along with us on these various journeys through pop culture. You can listen. You can hang out with us on social media. Sorry, I forget my role in this end credits thing. You can hang out with us on social media: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You could email us at popthiscollective@gmail.com. And you could also rate and review us 5 stars.
Yeah, and we hope you're doing well. However you're listening to us, maybe you're still at home, maybe you're half going to work, maybe you've gone to the mall like me. However you're getting us, thank you so much for joining us. Andrea Jin is our producer and our co-host during our strange days, whatever we're calling them now.
Pop This at Home? It's still
Pop This at Home. It's still Pop This at Home. Which, to be fair, before we used to just be Pop This at the Library, so it's not a huge difference, but thanks for being here with us.
It's a huge difference, because I did this with a cup of wine in my hand.
I had a G&T with some habanero pineapple syrup.
Whoa.
So, yeah.
Fancy pants.
That's me. Fancy yoga pants, please, to you.
100%, yes.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.